Before this episode of our Yalabat podcast, here's a message from our sponsor. So November is going to be a crazy exciting month, Harish. Do you know what's going to happen?
It's a holiday season.
No, man, it's not just that. It's the World Cup, man, once every 4 years. Huge climax to quite a crazy year, crazy eventful year. With a lot of good things that happen, but also a lot of not so good things that happen. I mean, can you think of certain things that were not so good that happened this year?
I mean, COVID is still hovering around. You know, it's still in the background. It's still ready to just pounce whenever it can.
And then there's inflation. Inflation continues to rise. I mean, geopolitical tensions. Let's not forget what's going on in the rest of the world. It's just so many crazy things still going on.
I felt it. Terrence has felt it. You've probably felt it in some way. So we need to remind ourselves that we are not insulated from things like that, and that we cannot forget about the total defense of our country.
I mean, that's probably the one thing that every Singaporean person knows about, and whether we practice it, that's another thing, but we have to be mindful of it, right?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've always heard in schools, growing up. But I don't know, man, the world these days, it just makes it feel like everything's becoming more real, more close, and that things could actually happen to us. So, if you're listening and you've got a way to help protect our country against anything, against threats and challenges, or maybe even to bring back our kampong spirit, or ways to, improve our food security. We have these goals to be self-sustaining by 2030, or even if you have an idea to stop fake news and misinformation, Nexus MINDEF wants your ideas. And you can just submit your ideas very easily to the Total Defense Sandbox by 30th November. And if it's a kick-ass idea, right, you might actually get help to make it happen for real. Yeah, if you can solve our food problems, you'll get help to make it happen. So you can literally be the change you want to see in the world. You can make Gandhi proud. So check out the link in the description for the application. Alright, just check it out, do your part, and who knows what could happen. In the meantime, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor, man.
Good old humor.
Yeah.
What an emphasis on old, man. It's Friday, man. We need the excitement, the energy.
Yeah. You can be old and still have a lot of energy. Doesn't mean the youth is not. I mean, energy is not exclusive to youth. Yeah.
What kind of annoying answer is that? That's just the theory, man. I need the practical. I need to hear it. I need to feel it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm full of energy. You can't hear the voice, but it's every day I'm boundless with energy, man. Yeah.
As you sip on your coffee,
Second coffee of the day.
You sip on your coffee.
Yeah.
Your second coffee.
But yeah.
How's your week been, man?
It's been busy. But yeah, so many. I think everyone's like in that towards the end of year kind of mode, right? Starting to try and wrap up stuff. Either you're really freaking busy, or you're starting to wind down a little bit. I've realized it's one of those two extremes.
But I haven't met that many people who are winding down. No? Everyone seems to be getting busier.
Yeah. Maybe they're winding down in the sense that, making
getting
plans
ready for holidays and stuff.
Yeah, making plans for December. But that's very busy. Like you're planning for one of the biggest moments of your life in December, and that's keeping you very busy. But if you think about it, it's still a more personal kind of event, right? It's not work, right?
Yeah.
Although
correct.
At times it feels like work, I'm sure, or even feels.
I never say one.
Work.
I never say. I love every moment of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be a fun time. But yeah, it's just. But I think also when people make traveling plans, I guess when you're in your 30s or 40s, or even like in your 20s, with work, before you travel, there's always a lot of work that you need to finish beforehand. Unless you're in a company, one of those companies where the entire company shuts down for 2 weeks.
Yeah. There
are companies like that.
There are industries like that. And it's funny you talk about that because, our topic is kind of related to that, companies that treat employees well.
That is true.
Yeah.
And how the companies treat their employees.
Exactly. During this hot festive period as well. But yeah,
Sometimes involuntary time off. Okay, yes. Before
before that,
don't give away too much.
yeah,
But
we want to
yes.
plug something like, right? And what's that, Harish?
It is the fact that, I mean, if you're listening, you might think we only live in the audio space, but we actually do pump out content on the social media platforms as well. Um, and on Instagram, we share highlights of like the more laughable parts of our podcast, or the more controversial, or the more opinionated. So check it out, man.
Yeah, I would add that a lot of it is curated by our very young and brilliant intern, Tristan. Shout out to Tristan. So what you're seeing is the world through a young person's eyes when you go to Instagram.
Yeah, correct.
And you then you understand, oh, this is what young people find interesting or funny when two old people talk, right? You know, so you can do a bit of a compare and contrast. You listen to the full thing, then you see what the snippets are. Then you realize, oh, this is how young people view how old people talk about the world.
Yeah, like when young people listen to us, these are the things that they pay attention to. Everything else we say does not matter.
Yeah.
Does not matter at all.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So it goes through a filter. It goes through a filter.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tristan.
Yeah.
Tristan, man.
Shout out to him for he basically goes through our entire podcast and picks out the best bits to put on Instagram. So if you are busy and you don't have time to really listen to the full thing, just checking out our social media, our Instagram, our TikTok to really see what the funny bits are.
And in case you're wondering who is this mystery editor, or even in case you miss our faces, I mean, just earlier this week on Instagram, we shared stories of a special guest we had in our office, the Minister of State, Alvin Tan. So yeah, we will share more stuff. You can even see our studio, our recording studio, which we are in the midst of pimping up. So
That's
maybe
right.
we should share more of that.
Yeah.
Share more of that. Sweet.
Cool.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
All right.
So, shall we jump into it, man?
Let's go.
The first topic is more like the next chapter in a story or a novel that has been unfolding recently. It is more first-hand stories from ex-Twitter employees who give their accounts of being laid off. I think previously we had heard, everyone has been hearing about Twitter, about Elon Musk, and there's been so much news about how he's hiring like half the workforce, like 3,000 plus employees around the world. In a previous episode, we talked about, okay, it seems like it's trickling down to Singapore, but now we have accounts, actual accounts from Singaporeans or people working in Singapore who have lost their job.
That's right. I mean, I think we are well and truly into the tech winter, right? Every single big tech company, whether it's Amazon, Meta, even Shopee, for that matter, they're laying off people. So, it's never a fun thing when you have to either be laid off or lay off people, especially related to what I was saying around this period, the holiday season when people are it's they're supposed to wind down and enjoy time with family and all. There's a lot of people who are going to be going through this period anxious about their jobs, anxious about their futures, and it's a tough situation. But I think specifically in Twitter's case, it seems all the PR and everything just seems especially bad, the way they're laying off people. So you can literally see that in the headlines for the layoff process in Singapore. Zero empathy, total upheaval inside Twitter's layoffs in Singapore. Oh.
But what made you want to talk about this? Because it's something we know is happening. Right? It's something that it was inevitable in Singapore.
Yeah.
What made you want to talk about this?
I think it's interesting because now that all the big tech companies have sort of stepped forward and started, showing their hands in terms of layoffs like Meta and all that, you can still do it differently. Like, I don't think you're seeing as much headlines about Facebook's layoffs or Meta's layoffs compared to Twitter's layoffs. And at the same time, you're watching and hearing about how Elon Musk is the pretty extreme things he's doing as the new boss at Twitter, in terms of like what he's forcing people to do and not do. So, and you can even directly compare the kinds of compensation and all that laid off employees were getting, right? So there is a bit of a contrast in how these companies are doing things, and in some way maybe the question is even is it better to be laid off from Twitter than it is to actually stay there right now, right?
Mm.
How about you? Like,
Um,
how do you feel about these things? Like, oh, it's just what it is, like, you know, like you laid off, oh, that's your thing. Like, anyway, you earn so much money. Is that what you're thinking?
hey, fuck you lah.
Because you sound like the way you asked the question was like, Terence, why are you even
Why you
bothered? Why you
care?
care
Why you
about this
care,
issue?
Terence?
It's like,
Why you
lay
care?
off, they earn a lot of
these
money, what?
Technocrats.
Yeah, they're just going
These
to
technocrats, yeah.
garden
confirm-
leave. They're going to
confirm
be
can find
gardening.
jobs,
You know, exactly.
Yeah, they all garden leave till 31st December, or then get severance, you know. I mean, I think why it's interesting for me. I mean, I think it's very easy, and I've caught myself also thinking that exact same thing. I mean, if you work for Twitter, chances are you are going to be a pretty decent hire for any company out there. Because I assume there is a lot of supply of people who want to work for Twitter. If you end up getting employed by Twitter, you must have a certain level of competence. So, yeah, I won't deny that one of my thoughts was like, okay, you get fired. Like, I know the tech industry is layoffs like crazy, but feels like you might still be able to get a job lah. Like you have the skills, right? But I think that's also a very dangerous thought lah, because for anyone who is doing anything in their life, when there's a sudden change, it's quite a shock lah, right? It can be a good thing, a bad thing. It's always going to be a shock. I know even for us, yeah, we've had like some bigger shocks, like when the company liquidated. But even when a certain gig that we were planning for, it can be a video gig, a podcast gig, falls through, there's a certain like, okay, something that, you know, what was anchoring the next few weeks, next few months of your life is just gone lah. So I can imagine a job like this where you get an email, because some of them recounted that they basically got an I mean, just like one example, like Abigail, which is not her real name, her account was that at like 8:20 a.m. on the way to work on November 4th, she got an email, and then the email said there will be layoffs, that employee badges will not work, so you should go home and not to the office. So she went back, and then she said within 1 hour, her colleagues from around the world all lost access to company email, company Slack. Then it spread to US and then Asia Pacific. Then she and her teammates started getting ready lah. Then she lost access to the company system at about 1 p.m. And a few hours later, she received an email in her personal inbox informing her that she had been laid off. Then most of the people in her global team were laid off, and just within the span of like 6-7 hours lah, you know. That happens, and then the severance is like half a month for every year that you have worked at Twitter, which is different from what Elon Musk himself said on Twitter, like a minimum of 3 months lah. And then I think, yeah, whether or not to approach Ministry of Manpower, whether or not to reach out to unions and all that, that is still something that's pending for them lah. And they've all been placed on garden leave. So I think it's just the shock, which is it's tricky lah. So I don't want to underplay what it feels, but for me the entire thing is what I find interesting to watch, how it's unfolding and how there are so many people who are just shitting on Elon Musk at this point lah. So that's where I felt, oh, okay, this I mean, yeah, so that's what interests me, this whole thing, not just the laying off, what is happening to Twitter.
So when you say,
so I thought it'd be interesting to watch.
You say that people are shitting on Elon Musk. Like what? I mean, we don't really go into like specifics, but generally, what are people shitting on him for? Lah?
I mean, okay, like from what comments I've seen online on Twitter and saying, yeah, he's an idiot. Within a year, Twitter will be burned to the ground. He's going to waste 44 billion. Who the hell comes in and fires that many people? You want to start with like the CEO to have transition, and I just felt, I have no fucking clue how is the best way to do this, but for people to just jump so passionately about this, I felt like, wow, really? I mean, this guy does have a decent track record. Of course, things can go wrong, but I don't know, it just felt like, how many people have experience in this field? And there have been a lot of companies in the past where there's a new leader and people are laid off. I think the most famous is Steve Jobs. Yeah, so I just found it like, wow, I know on the internet there are a lot of experts in many things, but I just felt it's a bit premature.
So you're saying that you'll give the guy a chance. He's got very strong track record with Tesla and SpaceX. So you don't know what where Twitter might be in a year's time, and now it's all the teething issue. So why are people jumping on him and crying foul about him so early lah? That's what you're saying.
I mean, to a certain extent, yes. Like the way they laid off is fucked up, right? There's so many better ways to do it. But then, of course, and how he became CEO of company also is like, oh, it's just a money play. It's just a money play. It's almost like a hostile takeover. But now he's there. Yeah, I think it's more like, not say give him a chance, but who knows what the fuck he's going to do.
Yeah. I think for me, yeah, I think not unlike you, I always had this impression that Elon Musk was, he's very brilliant, right? And even in the podcast, like when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast and all that, you actually listen to that and you feel like, wow, this guy is, he's really not like the normal person, right? In terms of, his aspirations and the things that he deals with in his mind and everything. It's almost like what you imagined. I mean, not to say that Einstein was without his faults or anything, but you imagine someone like Einstein and the kinds of things that were going through his mind, as he was coming up with theories of relativity and all these things. I think the Joe Rogan podcast with him was really like an eye-opening experience in terms of understanding how someone so driven, so motivated to try and solve the biggest engineering problems of the world. That's how he thinks, and you kind of see how he's trying to apply that to Twitter now. But in some ways, what is very shocking for people is that Twitter is first and foremost like it's a social media company. So it's about communication. It's about connecting with people. It's about allowing people to reach each other without barriers. But this entire process from his takeover to employee communications to even communicating about the next steps of the company and all, it's just been lacking in communication, to say the least. I think what you're hearing from a lot of ex-employees is they feel in the dark about what is happening, and everything has been coming through very cryptic emails and very, last-minute ultimatums about if you don't do this, we will take it that you're fired. I think, for example, there's I think there's been in the last few days there's been an email going around where Elon Musk specifically is asking the remaining employees to work at very high intensity for long hours. And basically there's a Google form where the only option to answer to that is yes, I agree to do that. And apparently if you don't answer yes by 5 p.m. Thursday yesterday, like it's 5 p.m. local time Thursday in the US, it is taken that you don't want the job anymore. So I mean that's just not the way that you would typically think a leader of a new company or a captain of a sinking ship is trying to stabilize the situation, right? Like issue ultimatums. It almost sounds like something straight out of the army general's playbook, if you don't do this, I charge you straight. That kind of feeling. Plus, I think there was an all hands meeting as well, or something like that, where a town hall where he gathered the employees, and in his first way of addressing the employees, he literally told them that bankruptcy is an option. The bankruptcy of the company is an option. And then you're like, wow, okay. I mean, it is, bankruptcy is always an option for any entity, right? That's just how it is. But when you just taken over as the boss and everything, usually what you're trying to do is to make people feel possibilities and excited about future such that they will work for you. But this one, he's really dragging them through okay, this is what, this is the shit that will happen if you don't work like 996 and give me and sleep in your office. So it's for a place like Twitter, which even within big tech, I think the impression of Twitter is that it's a much more employee empathetic kind of place where they really care about employee welfare and empathy is a very big value in the company. It just seems like a very 180-degree hard turn. That's why I think it's so it's been so jarring for people that they're calling out Elon Musk at this point already for changing the culture, or at least not even respecting the culture for even 1 minute.
But I mean, on the flip side, him sending or his team sending that, it's almost like laying down the expectations. If you're not happy, you leave.
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, you like if you were having a discussion with your fiance about something at a wedding, would you send Would you send an email and they say if you're not happy at this, you leave lah? Would you put that? You can't, right?
How you know I don't already do that? Huh?
Your
How
WhatsApp, your WhatsApp messages.
Yeah. No, Instagram story, there's a poll there, right? I got
one option.
We each have a private account with one follower and one following.
Yeah.
We send this sort of ultimatums every day.
Yeah. Communication, that's why you're dealing with, like I said, like you're dealing with humans and then you have to, I mean, the very least, there's some decorum in terms of how you talk to people, especially people who almost got laid off or are in fear of being laid off and all. You have to be kind of careful about how you talk to them, right?
I mean, I'm not saying I endorse that culture. I wouldn't want to work at a company like that. But because
you wouldn't want to.
One...
I thought you don't you. Isn't there something that like Elon Musk is also one of your personal heroes, right? Like,
I mean, heroes for different reasons. Like you can respect people for different things.
Okay.
I respect his ambition, his drive, and just his audacity to do like this crazy shit.
So if he calls you and says, "Hey, Harish, like Twitter needs like a new comms person or that, I want you to join me and be my right hand man to do this," and then you would say no, man.
No, I didn't say I would say no.
Okay. So
depends on the position,
okay.
Like if you ask me
say
to be like
wouldn't work at a company
senior level.
You say you wouldn't work at a company
what role.
like this. Oh, okay.
No, it depends what role. Yeah, depends what role. Because so I mean, ultimately, like if you are joining a company, people join companies for different reasons, right? If you want almost like a second family, a place that is like feels like home, sure, you can have that preference. But if you want to do like just world changing shit, that's also a preference. And sometimes they don't really jive lah. So I totally agree that there can be more decorum, there can be a softer touch for this sort of shit. And maybe the changing of the culture is coming too fast. But that's why for me it's very interesting to watch, because if you read accounts of ex-employees from his other companies, it sounds like a fucking like a slave driver to the max. Like there's this one article on Wired that I read, Dr. Elon and Mr. Musk, Life Inside Tesla's Production Hell. So it's just quite a long account from employees who work at the Giga factory and Tesla. And like he just walks, like he has tantrums, he just walks around, he fires people and all. And people say even the way they sit in meetings, like apparently Elon likes to feel like he's taller than everyone else. So the closer you sit to him, the more you hunch over. Which is fucking crazy, right? It's crazy. But then, I mean, it's like kind of like, the last podcast you mentioned, The Last Dance, like Michael Jordan and all that. And then you hear stories of like Steve Jobs and all. I'm not saying that this sort of behavior is something we should aspire to, but it also feels like, wow, fuck, like the shit he's doing, the stuff that he's trying to do, maybe it requires these sort of like nut jobs to lead the charge. Just because the goal is so fucking like he wants to travel to Mars, But and
so maybe you're right lah. Maybe human HR or culture and all that is not his strongest point lah, right? But maybe that's why maybe that's why he needs to surround himself with people or let other people handle that aspect of things. But it seems like he wants to handle it himself lah, which in some way you kind of got to marvel at how. I mean, it's a lot of commitment lah, right? From him to have to literally like be present at town halls and all that as well when he's running 3 different companies.
Yeah.
So you kind of, I mean, okay, respect that, but yeah, it can be very tough for the people working under him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine, Terrence, you got no iPhone. You just have this feature phone. That it would, like, iPhone would never have come out if not for that, like, a slave driver, Steve Jobs.
Use Android lah. Use Android. I'm okay. I've switched before.
Yeah, but you switch back to Apple, right?
Correct. I switched back. I've come back to the walled ecosystem of Apple. With open arms. But the one thing I did find interesting was that for this Straits Times article, is it Straits Times? No, sorry, CNA article. That interviews 10 Twitter, tried to talk to 10 Twitter ex-employees in Singapore. Only 2 actually responded, or at least 2 agreed to go on record to talk about it. So it appears like Yeah, a lot of them, like 8 out of 10 of them still didn't want to go on record talking about it because, I don't know, they're scared of the repercussions or that they might lose any compensation they might get. Because the sense that I'm getting from international media and media in the US and all is that they have been able to talk to quite a number of ex-employees and get a greater insight of what's going on in the company. I think like Hard Fork podcast, which I've recommended as a one Shiok Thing before, they actually got two ex-employees to come on and speak. But the things that employees were so scared of repercussions that they wouldn't even allow them to use the audio from the interview. What they had to do was to transcribe the interview and then after that use an AI machine to read out the interview for them. So that's how fearful they were of like being found out who they are. So yeah, I mean there is this. I think Elon Musk is bringing this culture of perform or die to Twitter.
Yeah,
and even ex-employees, they're fearful of repercussions if they don't follow the protocol.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like if you're listening and thinking, oh, Harish is standing Elon Musk and all that. I mean, I don't. I don't agree with how he's imposing that sort of culture, which I think is a separate discussion from whether he calls me to be his right hand man. Because that's not apples to apples, okay. I wouldn't want to work at a company like this. But I just find it like now also like any comments about Elon Musk, you either like stand him or you criticize him. Even on Reddit, there was one comment, is it, I just checked out LinkedIn, yeah, all the Indians are standing him. I'm like, huh? What?
Why specifically?
What all the... I don't know. Like, it's just...
as a spokesperson of your entire ethnicity, Harish, what do you have to say about that?
No, it was one comment, literally, check LinkedIn, he's being worshipped by Indians. Then I'm like, yeah, okay. It just feels like you... At this point, if you show any semblance of like support for Elon Musk, you're a villain. And the right thing to do is shit on him. But I feel that there are things you can disagree. There are things you can maybe wait and watch. So that's why this whole Twitter thing is interesting to watch. Of course, the people who are impacted, I mean that like it can't be easy. It's not easy, and it sucks, especially if you love your job, you love the culture they had built, you love the things you were working on. But holy shit, it's just crazy. It's so unreal.
And all this makes you really like, when you saw how Zuckerberg did the Meta layoffs, right? Where he sent a memo. I think he sent a memo that went out to the public as well. I think it was very clear what the next steps were for people who get laid off. It was very clear what the benefits were for the people being laid off, and he expressed apologies and then everything about it. So in retrospect, I think a lot of these laid off people would rather have had that experience than what they're going through now with Twitter, where it's like, the bosses can't even tell them what's going on, and stuff is just happening at the top, and you're literally hearing it from the news. Which is, I mean, it brings back, it's like PTSD, it brings back memories of how we, and found out about the corporate shit show that happened to us as well, right? The liquidation. We found out about it through the news on the weekend before circuit breaker, and we were trying to message people, finding out what the hell's going on, and people were just replying with standard replies like, I can't say anything, and things like that.
Actually, my first message to you was like, Terrence, liquidation, so what? They still pay us.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't be a fucking idiot, dude.
Harish circa 2020 was a very innocent, nice young man. And he also thought Cristiano Ronaldo was the consummate professional in the world of football, and nothing he does will ever be wrong.
But Terrence, there's a contract. How can they not follow the contract?
The contract's infallible.
No, it's infallible, man. Yeah, they signed it.
Yeah, we're in Singapore. Government must be able to enforce something. Yeah, welcome to the new normal for everyone.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why one of the things that the employee also said was that they're hoping that MOM or NTUC can step in and all. But I don't know, man, just based on our limited experience, the moment is in the private sector, private company, or even a public company. If there's no clear overlap with the civil service, they won't step in. They can't step in.
Yeah.
And I mean Singapore.
Yeah.
They can't lah.
Yeah.
And Twitter in Singapore is also not unionized. So because in Singapore apparently like if manpower mandates that if you want to inform employer or retrench someone, you need to give them 5 days notice.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So it just feels like wow, like it's crazy times, man.
Yeah. So the irony is that probably the best way for them to get attention to the things that are going on, to their plight right now, is to use social media lah. Is to tweet about it lah.
And Twitter, is it? It's a tweet about it, is it?
Yeah. Sorry for the dark humor, but it is. I mean, that is really probably the best way to really call Elon Musk out or get attention to something that you feel is very unfair lah. Yeah.
But then the thing is, there was also like cases of employees openly criticizing Elon Musk and getting fired.
Yes, that's right. I'm saying if you already got fired already and you're not happy with how the process went or the severance and everything, maybe tweeting about it is your best shot at getting some help.
Walao, that's like rubbing salt in the wounds, yeah.
Yeah, then after that you get banned. You get banned from the platform. That's the worst part.
No, then you go to other social media lah, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah lah. I mean, it depends on what. I guess people on Twitter there's a lot of journalists on Twitter lah, right? They're looking for a big story. They're looking for something scandalous to write about Elon Musk. So yeah,
even share it on Twitter.
Yeah, even Ho Ching is on the act. I think a few days ago she was tweeting about she was complaining about some new privacy feature of Twitter, and she literally tagged Elon Musk and asked him to clean up his act and all that. So she's Ho Ching, the Facebook maestro. She herself is like working Twitter now and like trying to get Elon Musk's attention on certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just weird times, man. Weird times. So you think Tesla owners, if you're listening and you have a Tesla, right? I'm really curious. Like, do you feel a bit like, he's got a Tesla, it's made by Elon Musk and his company, or whether you just don't give a shit?
You think Tesla owners care? If you can afford a Tesla in
Hey,
Singapore,
Terrence,
you think they care about the plight of Twitter employees?
Why? Why so prejudiced, Terrence? Terrence?
I mean, I usually I like to reserve my judgment because you try not to make judgments based on appearance lah. But I remember looking at Tesla Singapore's Instagram, and I think when they launched the Model Y or something in Singapore, they had a whole carousel of delivering the cars to the customers in Singapore lah. And yeah, from just based on very shallow judgments and everything, I would say that most people there don't care about Twitter employees who got laid off lah. I mean, you all go and see the Instagram itself and make your own judgments.
What a blanket statement.
Yeah, it's a blanket statement.
Your worst nightmare would be a Tesla pulls up in front of you, the guy steps out in spandex and takes out a road bike. Walao. Then you will see Terrence lose his shit.
Yeah. Spandex is
losing
you're not
spandex road bike Tesla.
Yeah, you're not even that far from what I was literally describing, like people wearing spandex and going to pick up their Model Ys. That's the kind of that's the level at which they are that the Tesla Model Y owners were operating at. So
if you ever want to get Terrence's attention for anything, right, just take a picture of yourself in spandex in a road bike next to your Tesla. Lama. Terrence will message me at 2 a.m. and like, Harish, you see this? You see this guy who tagged me?
Yeah, this is our next Yalabat topic. This is our next Yalabat topic. But yeah.
Yeah,
it's
man.
A rough time. I mean, if anyone actually is one of these ex-employees and I don't know, if wants to like talk about it or something on the podcast, we'd be, happy to talk to you, because like I said, there are real human costs to this whole thing, and I think we just want to find out what's the situation going on there.
Yeah, fuck. Actually, that's a good idea. I mean, if you need to be anonymous, we can figure out a way. Right?
Yeah.
But it'd be so cool to just hear from someone who actually went through this shit.
Yeah.
It'd be so useful, so eye-opening. So if you are someone or if you know someone, just hit us up. Instagram, Instagram, wherever you can find us. Instagram would probably be the best. Reddit.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
But yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, man.
Well, I really don't have a transition for the next topic. It just feels like a totally different thing. But yeah, closer to home. I mean, okay, not so international, but closer to home and closer related to everything that's going on at the end of the year. This is another group of people who will not be enjoying their Christmas holiday season as much as well, right? And who are these people?
There was a recent announcement that buskers will not be allowed to perform from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Friday and Saturday for the month of December at 8 locations on Orchard Road. Which is 3 hours on probably the busiest days of the week. So naturally there has been backlash by buskers saying that, I mean, like you can imagine like their year-end earnings are probably the highest of the year just because of the amount of footfall that goes past Orchard Road and all.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just felt like I mean, buskers and that whole industry is something that whenever I hear, I'm like, oh shit, that exists in Singapore, but then I forget lah.
You haven't been to Orchard Road?
Yeah.
Like on a busy day for a while lah, I suppose.
No. I have, but the fact that there's a buskers association and like I always thought it was more an informal thing, but it is a formal thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You get licensed to perform and all that.
And you must be a certain quality. Like
reminded.
there's like something like auditions that you have to kind of pass. Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a buskers association and they put out a statement where one of the lines was quite poetic lah. The irony is not lost that in this season of giving, NAC is in fact taking away both the enjoyment of the public as well as the livelihood of such buskers by banning busking activities. So it was something passed by the National Arts Council, NAC. The Buskers Association has called on the NAC to reconsider, but no news yet, man.
Yeah. But I mean, when you saw this, like what made you think that this is a very interesting thing to talk about? Because I think like a lot of people like yourself, you know, one, either they don't frequent Orchard Road that as much as before, or two, they don't even know that buskers are, you know, are so organized in Singapore. Like there's a process to becoming a busker in Singapore. So why do you think this is interesting for people to talk about?
I mean, the first thing that came to mind this is the knee-jerk reaction to the Itaewon horror.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
The same for you?
Yeah. When the moment the words crowd control come up, I do think of the Halloween tragedy at Itaewon. Plus the fact that just I think a week ago or something, I think our intern again was sharing with us pictures of the crowd in the MRT, right? In the I think Outram Park MRT, and it seemed like it was like really packed and it was getting uncomfortably crowded in the MRT lah. And the thing about MRTs is that the escalators are continually feeding commuters onto the platform, even if it's very crowded. So it could lead to a situation where there's a whole mass of people trying to get out the escalator and being pressed together at the platform lah. So I think like what we said before, it can lead to a scary situation, and that we shouldn't take for granted that crowd control in Singapore is like whatever we just do, it should be safe. Let's just do it lah, right?
Yeah. So that's why like the moment that occurred to me, I was like, oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? If they don't impose stuff, because we're seeing not just the pictures sent by Tristan, our intern, but there are more pictures online coming up of like crowds at MRTs, right? And even a few months ago, before that whole busker controversy around that one individual, you would see crowds at Cathay, like, like 1,000 plus people watching.
Yeah.
And just going on Reddit, quite a few people gave accounts of how, like in the early 2000s and all the Orchard Road Christmas parties, they do get really packed.
Oh yeah, they do.
They do, right? So then I was thinking, oh fuck, like if nothing is done, then it also is an issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because if something happens, it will be these sort of moments where like, guys, you could have fucking done something. This is the first time in how many years that there's really no restrictions, right? I think the past 2 years, 2021, there's always been some restrictions at the end of the year.
Yeah,
right. So this one has no restrictions, no masks. People are gonna get drunk and shit like that. Then it made me think, oh shit, wow, that's a tough spot lah. Because it's very similar, right? Like there's no one entity, one event that's being organized. It's just these stretches of road.
Yeah, and I want to to also kind of highlight why we feel a bit stronger about a lot of these things. It's because in our earlier not earlier lives now, in the years that we were really very active on YouTube and all, we were doing a lot of on the street videos, like, right? So we would spend a lot of time on Orchard Road observing crowds and understanding how when was the best time to be there when we wanted to have crowds in our videos, or talk to, or even like just interview people on the streets in our videos, like, right? So there are definitely parts of town that are much more crowded than others. I think even for us, we recognize that and all that. But we always found a way, to make sure that we were not impeding traffic or creating an unsafe situation by filming along that stretch or anything like that, lah. So I do feel for these buskers, because it feels like blanket just saying that they can't be there during that period is tough, lah. Imagine for us if we were shooting and then they just say, "Oh, sorry, between these hours and these hours, you just cannot shoot videos here." Then it's very tough, lah. And in those situations, it's happened to us. There's a lot of improvisation we have to do, and it's a very stressful situation. But for these buskers, it's like, the livelihood is just being taken away from them at the point when they need to be there, when there are more people there to watch their performance, to give them money as well and all that, lah. So I don't know, man. Like I get crowd safety is important, but maybe I was just thinking, maybe they what they could do is to actually find alternative venues to if you want to draw people away from the crowded areas into those venues. You think that will fly for the buskers?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is true, lah. Like, it feels like a very heavy-handed approach.
Yeah.
Because, alternative venues, that's possible. But also, one big gap for the Itaewon horror was that even the manpower that were on site to control the crowds was lacking, lah, right? So in Singapore, could that not be like a solution? Or maybe, like barricades, strategic barricades. Like, I'm sure there are hundreds of papers talking about crowd control and all that, and it feels like there have been crowded events before in Singapore. I mean, if you've ever done the Standard Chartered Marathon also, it gets fucking crowded.
Whoa. Soft flexing. Oh, if you've ever run a 42-kilometer marathon before, it gets really crowded. I've run my 2.4 many, many, many times, Harish. I don't like go around telling people, "Oh, if you run the 2.4."
How you know I ran? Maybe I saw pictures. Huh? Maybe I saw pictures.
You just said if you run. You just said if you've run. Yeah. So you never said if you've seen pictures on the Standard Chartered Marathon. You said if you've run. I was like, wow, this is
if you have run.
This is a soft flex. It's something I can.
No, you can say if you've ever been confronted by a shark in the water, does it automatically imply that I have been confronted by a shark in the water?
It does, right?
No, maybe I've read many accounts of people who have been confronted by sharks in water.
It's okay. Finish your flex. Just let people know about your experience running 42 kilometers. Completing finisher, being a finisher. You know those people who always wear the finisher t-shirts everywhere. Like they just wear it in every sport they do. I'm like, dude, like just get over it. The shirt is fraying already. Change the shirt. It's gross. It smells. Yeah, finisher, please. Go on.
Why? That hit a raw nerve, is it, Terence? Is it something you've always wanted to do, run a marathon, is it? Huh?
Maybe. So I'm just letting you finish your soft flex. I was like, wow, what kind of, if you've ever run the Standard Chartered Marathon? Yeah, I've never. So please let us, educate us.
I mean, since you asked, the question is how many marathons have I run? Like, but no,
international or local only? That's the question.
Well, that's a whole other podcast that we can continue.
The marathon overseas that you ran is so different.
Yeah, it was a lot of space. The temperature was cooler and all.
Yeah.
But regardless, there are events in Singapore where crowds can build up. But yeah, it does feel.
But you didn't finish the marathon. The marathon, like what was about the marathon that made?
No, it was very crowded, lah.
Okay. Like, but did it feel dangerous? It felt dangerous?
It didn't feel dangerous, but it felt, there's really a lot of people here. And thankfully, that whole experience, the race starts and people start running and then it spaces out. But the first part, if it was over a period of time, you can imagine people getting a bit more restless and stuff like that. And if it wasn't properly organized, you can get like thousands of people compressed.
Yeah.
But I think what you said is a good point also, that it felt like there could have been other solutions. And one thing that I found out from reading this article and doing research online is that it was in 2020 when there was an app that was launched to facilitate the booking of busking spots. Like, even according to the buskers, it helped a lot during the pandemic,
Yeah.
to kind of like give legitimacy to busking and almost provide some sort of structure. But the double-edged sword is that right now it is through that app that these sort of bans can be placed.
That means you don't allow them to book.
Yeah.
Spots, yeah.
Yeah, because previously they were like, okay, you go to Orchard Road and you kind of just, it's very informal, as long as you keep distance, there's a healthy respect. So something that proved very useful 2 years ago now has become like, if the app or the government just says, okay, you cannot book, they blank out all the slots, you can't perform.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. but I mean,
so
if
yeah.
like, what if, like, let's say you give the buskers the option to perform somewhere where there's less foot traffic, like say Scape or the youth park or something like that. You think that's if you were a busker, do you think that's a viable alternative for you versus, like, say, being in front of the Victoria's Secret store, along Somerset, that stretch?
I mean, it would still suck because I can imagine, I mean, even for us, right, where we have our own business and all, the uncertainty of like, okay, like revenue and cash flow is always present. You're a big business, small business, big freelancer, small freelancer, is always there. And I can imagine, just based on talking to like freelancers or hosts that we know, the end of year always is something that
it's very important.
Okay, it's fucking important, right? And you can imagine people planning like whatever, like, or having some estimate, then boom, suddenly they're informed that the 3 hours for 2 times a week, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just feels like, I'm not so sure when this thing was implemented, but I really hope things change because this is not good, man.
Yeah, plus the I think the festive mood is greatly enhanced when there's a lot of when there's music and there's buskers around and all that, right? And then I guess people could say, then just play music from speakers, isn't it safer? But at the same time, like, I think buskers, the idea of live performance and reacting to a crowd response and just creating a buzz in an area, that's I think that is actually a big part of the festive mood and experience. In my life, like, the times that I've been out at Christmas, usually Christmas for me is usually like at some friend's place for a party or something like that, or even just at home. Rarely it's I'm out in town. But the 1 or 2 times that I've been out in town, it's for that reason, just to be part of that buzz and to soak in the atmosphere a little bit. So I mean, my alternative was, why not, this is an idea that has been mooted quite a number of times. I don't know why it's taking so long to implement, or to, they're not trying to push it through faster to encourage more people to be on Orchard Road. It's close off the street during the festive season. You don't have to do it. You don't have to close off every day, but during certain periods, like maybe at night and all that, especially in the lead up towards the end of the year, Christmas, all that, close off the street and just make it a fully pedestrian street, and then with that you can actually have a lot of other things in place, like food carts and vendors and all this, like, doing a thing. Then there's a real reason for people to want to be there and all, and if crowds build up, you don't feel so, as the authorities, you don't feel so stressed about, like, crowd control and cars versus people and all that kind of thing. So rather than just like, let's do less in Orchard Road, let's like ban activities on Orchard Road to keep people safe. Why not let's just make Orchard Road safe for everyone by making it a safer space, by enlarging the place that people can move around and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like there's so many other things that can be done first.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of coordination. It takes a lot of coordination to do something like that. But that I feel like you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by banning stuff, rather than like thinking of other ways to change up the infrastructure a bit.
Yeah. So, and like, it just felt like what I said earlier also, that the buskers in Singapore, it's such a cool community, but this news was never going to be in the headlines, right?
Yeah.
So Yeah, so it just feels like okay, I hope something changes. Like I hope something changes.
I hope so too. Yeah, but I mean, for you, Christmas, are you going to be out and about, or what's your what do you think your Christmas plan is going to be?
I'll be back. I'll be headed to Bali mid-December. So after that, I'll be back. I think it'll just be chill, man. I just want to chill. I don't think I'll be out and about. Maybe catch up with some friends and all. Just chill.
You mean
Keep it chill.
no religious activities on the card during the Christmas Eve or anything?
I mean, like Christmas is something my fiance's family celebrates, so there will be that, but it won't be like going out to party or getting drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, getting drunk maybe like I don't know, but not going out to party or something like.
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah, definitely just family or friends, very close friends and all that. Yeah. Christmas is not that kind of like outrageous, crazy party kind of holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, but cool.
If you're a busker also, if you're listening to this, let us know what you think. Like I do feel like maybe they should explore other options, like maybe allowing the buskers to be at some other spots in Orchard Road and try to think of how to draw more a bit more traffic there, rather than just saying, oh, you cannot be in these places,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So so it feels like, I mean, I hope that there's more development in this because otherwise it's just sad, man.
Yeah,
it's just sad.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool, man.
What is your one Shiok comment?
One Shiok comment. So it's actually more like a one Shiok message from someone on Instagram via DM. So I guess since it's DM, I won't disclose the name since it's private, but it was someone who shared with us the Instagram post by Mockingbird News. And Mockingbird News, I think it has been my one Shiok thing before, way back. They're like a local satirical news outlet. And it's actually quite funny, their shit. They're on Instagram, they do some funny shit. So shout out to them and shout out to the person who sent it to us.
Yeah.
I think the title is like there's a picture of Lawrence Wong and it's like local man promoted after company couldn't find someone better. so it's just that sort of like, wow, that's cool that you get this sort of content in Singapore, but it's not like the clickbaity, like sexy, that kind of shit. It's just funny stuff.
Yeah.
So shout out to them, man. What about you?
My one Shiok comments, I think as a response to us talking about the World Cup, sorry, that was your one Shiok thing the last time already, right? Was it?
Which is what?
I mean the recommendation to Tifo Football's thing about the World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, I think for me it was like I've actually seen the videos, so it's quite, they've been quite interesting, and I was just gonna say it's people should send us more of these kind of interesting videos and all to watch, especially if it expands on something that we're talking about, on our podcast as well, right? Then we can whether share it as a one Shiok thing as well, or subsequently talk about it like that, So yeah, I mean I think the Tifo Football one, more than just one person has also shared it with us, talk about it.
So there's like a 2-time one Shiok comment.
It's a 2-time one Shiok.
Oh, Lama.
Because
it's like a Hall of Fame one Shiok comments. Yeah,
it's a series that is bit by bit being released. You see, so in just last few days, I watched one episode, and I think I'm halfway through the second episode, and it's actually pretty good, Yeah.
So nice.
Again,
nice,
I like it, and people also give us their one Shiok thing recommendations on our subreddit, Sure.
Oh, cool, man. Cool. Okay, cool. And then what about your one Shiok thing?
Let me just pull it up. You have yours?
Yeah. Okay, mine is the update that there will be 13 McDonald's outlets in Singapore that will be showing all 64 games of the World Cup. And this is not a sponsored post for McDonald's or something, but I don't know. Reading that news just made me so happy. 19 outlets. Because
right.
I just feel like it's if it's going to be open 24 hours and shit, because the games are 9 p.m. and midnight, I'm definitely going to watch at least one game at the McDonald's near my house. And it just feels like, oh shit, do they always do this?
No,
I don't know how they manage to work it out also.
Yeah.
With the rights and all that.
No, I think I've heard you to pay quite a lot of money for it, lah. Like we're talking about like
they definitely have to, lah.
Yeah,
right?
big like thousands. Per screen, I think it's like 3,000 or 5,000 or something like that, lah. Basically. So it's for but McDonald's, it's still not a lot of money, but I'm just trying to imagine. Wow, you talk about crowds at Orchard Road. Imagine the crowd at McDonald's.
Crowd at McDonald's.
I'll never be able to get my fix of the nuggets at night already.
But yeah, that'd be so cool. I mean, probably the finals all will be a bit much, but one of the earlier games where there's no crowd, it'd be so cool, man. Yeah. And I just can't believe it. The World Cup is happening in 2 days. In 2 days.
Oh, is it 2 days?
I'm so excited.
Just 2 days. Oh, that's crazy.
It's November 20th. November 20th.
God damn.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I mean,
that's my one Shiok thing.
Just to add on to that as well, I think you heard the comments that Ronaldo said, like, if he wins the World Cup, he's going to retire on the spot, right?
He'll retire. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Like, it adds on to the fire that you have for, like, to see him win, right? You don't want to see him have to face Manchester United again or anything. Right?
That will be like, he give this bombshell interview, win the World Cup,
and drop the mic and retire on the spot. That's
fuck, man.
If there's any way to say like, fuck everybody, I'm the greatest of all time.
I am the GOAT. Yeah.
In some ways, there's like such a super villain move that you kind of like want to see it happen, right?
No, I told you, dude. He did his bombshell interview to light a fire under his own ass.
Yeah.
And even though he missed the friendly match.
He light a fire under his ass, but he had stomach pain. Stomach pain. I miss a friendly match. Light fire under your own ass. That's what happens when you light fire under your ass. You get stomach ache.
The younger Ronaldo would have been, yeah. But now it's like, oh shit. Oh, stomach upset. Yeah.
Okay. Don't make fun of people with stomach pain. Yeah. But I mean, it's just funny that you're talking about it like that.
Yeah. Ronaldo, man. But that was my one Shiok thing.
Yeah, my one Shiok thing is it's a pretty there's this series called Go Sneaker Shopping with Complex. Like celebrities go sneaker shopping with Complex. And I think about a week ago, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the wrestling icon, went sneaker shopping with Complex. And I'm only highlighting this because it actually is quite funny. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, he was, he's a wrestling icon back in the day, but you wouldn't think of him as a sneakerhead, right? So when you watch this thing, it really feels like this uncle from the 90s, this middle-aged guy from the 90s, being forced to go sneaker shopping in today's day and age where people are like sneakerheads and everything's hype and all that, And he walks in with his dad jeans and Asics sneakers. And then he's trying to talk to Joe La Puma about sneakers. So it's like a contrast of two different eras. So and then you can tell the Joe La Puma was also trying to make Stone Cold sound as relevant as possible to the audience. And then he was bringing up, how do you feel about seeing young people wearing your shirts as like a retro iconic thing and things like that. So and then they're asking him about, these Nike Shox shoes that you saw last time. Then Stone Cold's like, yeah, I didn't know anything. People just told me that was cool, so I just wore it. And then someone took a photo of it and people talk about it. So it's just funny just watching this uncle trying to, he's trying to stay relevant. I mean, the cool thing is that he's not trying very hard. He's just like, okay, you invited me, I'm here. But then they are trying very hard to like, LeBron James wore this T-shirt of you, and then Damian Lillard wore this T-shirt of you, and how do you feel being relevant to young athletes today and all that kind of thing? So
also he's not an actual sneakerhead. He's
not.
There.
In fact, he talks about how come he never had a sneaker deal when he was a global icon wrestler, and he talks about how he only wore boots to the ring. These like literally like this utility boots, and then they wanted to sign a deal with him, but then he was like, let's hold off for something, and then he never got a sneaker deal after that. So it's just it's just funny because usually you on this series, like you get people who are at least like are very, very relevant to the younger people, or like the ex-footballers or like Cristiano Ronaldo. So you can imagine those people to be very fashionable and they care about how they look. But Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't give a shit. And so it's quite funny. Yeah.
So it's entertaining. It's entertaining.
It's entertaining, yeah. Especially it's a good throwback and just trying to understand, like, just see how sneakers. And like now, they point out one thing, there are a lot of wrestlers today are also, social media influencers and all. And to them, like sneakers and their appearance matters a lot more than back in the day, lah. So they talk about how this change occurred. John Cena with his Reebok pumps and all that. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Wow, that is cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, that's the final podcast of the week.
And we really
will talk,
everyone who's still listening. Really, I hope you guys look forward to our podcast with Minister Alvin Tan next week as well. It's already recorded.
Mr. Alvin Tan.
And we'll be dropping it next week. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, man. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone.